Good people, I want to see more of this trend moving forward. This is the Hyper split tower from Deepcool. Chamber at the bottom, chamber at the top. So all your hardware is here and cooling configuration here. So this is the CL6600. Can we just talk about how ridiculous that name is? I don't look, this doesn't look like a 600 to me. This looks like a Wally or Canopy or something that expands or segmentates. That's not a word. Segmentation is a word. I love this design though that allows you to have an ATX tower in the bottom and this like cooling chamber at the top. So they've done a good job with the front panel, for example, that has a clean lines that enters into the cooling chamber that has a slightly different design for a little variety. Obviously, they're entering into the wood territory as well with this little veneer element on the right side that does not continue to the top. And I like that because it really gives you that true separation feeling. There is a headphone holder built into this right side that you can store your headphones on, which is nice, a little built-in value add functionality. And so let's talk about the 360 AIO chamber. It is supposed to be easily removable, so I can take off the top panel, for example, to access my radiator installation. But this whole section alongside this top is removable. You can see those screws here. There's two more screws at the back, so you can take this entire thing off. And what's the word? The bird is the word, really. The design of this whole top chamber is made so that it is easy enough to replace the fans or take out the 360 AIO that is included with the CL6600. But in case you need to replace it for whatever reason, it is simple to do. One of the advantages of removing the 360 AIO from our general chamber and moving it into something separate is that we have no more heat sharing between our GPU and our CPU cooler. And that means the CPU is going to be around 4 to 5 degrees cooler on average versus a traditional configuration. This is what Deepcool tells us. And the GPU is going to be around 2 degrees cooler just because, again, we're not sharing any of the heat that is accumulated by the radiator, even though all this stuff is getting exhausted at the top anyway. So that is one of those things that you have to accommodate for, and definitely include a good exhaust fan on this enclosure, which is not included, weirdly. So the only two fans that are included are going to be at the bottom, right below the GPU for intake, and of course the fans with our 360 AIO. And this is the second enclosure we see at Computex that has power supply being shifted to the front to give us more clearance underneath the GPU for actually functional intake. And because this power supply chamber is facing the back, 160 millimeter power supplies are going to be compatible, and that's like your maximum. Obviously, we have a built-in dust filter at the bottom over here for our 360 IO. There's a dust filter for our bottom intake fans, which is removable from the back, and I'm sure there's going to be a filter for the power supply, right, Eber? Is that right? Have you seen it? There we go, we found it. We have a power supply dust filter as well. Obviously, we have BTF support. We have this cable cover over here that is removable, and no side intake ventilation. Kind of a breath of fresh air when there is none, and some little design elements above our I/O, because Deepcool has those pixels you can play around with to create your own little shapes and colors on both the exterior and interior. Love it. GPUs up to 384 millimeters are supported with a built-in GPU bracket at the bottom, and CPU tower heat sinks up to 174 millimeters in height are available. And because we have the 140 millimeter fan support at the rear, that means that, you know, we have a little bit additional height to play around with. But if you are buying this enclosure, the whole idea is to put an actual 360 AIO at the top, or use it, the one that comes included with the case, and not really replace it with an air cooler, but still it is possible. Price-wise, you're looking at $220, which for a mid-tower of this caliber that has that chamber separation, I haven't seen a single mid-tower. It goes back to the Thermaltake days. You know, remember when they had that BMW collaboration where everything is separated in chamber design? So I would say it's okay. And the 360 IO, you know, it's like about $100. So you're looking at maybe $120 for the enclosure plus those two fans, which you decide if that's fair or not. And now let's check out the Genome 3. And so this is the Genome 3, what they call the return of the beloved water-cooled enclosure. And that is because it has a built-in 420 millimeter radiator at the top with the fans included. And at the front over here, you can see the liquid level, which is user refillable. That's funny to me because normally an AIO lasts for 5 years, so the evaporation is so low. And so it's basically an AIO where you can see the liquid level. I would say it's a little bit pointless from a point of view of like, this stuff is gonna last for 5 years minimum, but they're telling us that they're trying to extend their warranty range and the product quality so that you don't have to worry about this stuff in the long term. But in case you do want to refill it with some form of liquid to top it up, that is of course possible. On the inside, this thing is massive. So there's that built-in radiator with cleanly routed tubes right above here. So I actually appreciate that. And the design of the pump matches the design of the front panel. So there's some design consistency. We do have a power supply shroud screen that is included with the Genome 3 that can display pictures, videos, and all this sort of system information. It is not a touch screen, and it's what is it? It's like 5.5 inches or something. So it's fairly large and very detailed, and it's also IPS. So the viewing angles are not horrible, and it's only running off a single USB 2 port. You don't need additional SATA or HDMI cables for this integration. And the software apparently is really decent in terms of trying to configure certain things. So the Genome 3, like the main selling point here is of course the built-in 420. This thing is like, I think around $400. That's in the range of this entire case. It's nice that we have the screen included for value add, but again, it's one of those things that you have to ask yourself whether or not you want to buy a case that will support the 420 separately and buy a 420 somewhere else. But this is becoming more and more popular, like kind of an all-in-one configuration where cooling is taken care of. It would be nice if power supply was also taking care of that price, but this is a full tower where you just have lots of room for activities and for experimentation. And speaking of experimentation, apparently Deepcool is including wood on their air coolers. I'm gonna take air coolers. I'm gonna let Mike take that. I'm gonna let Mike coolers. I'm gonna let Mike take it away.
You can go. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's Computex. Everybody gets in everybody's way. Okay, everybody. So there are some critical updates on the air cooling side because the AK620 that we know and love, it's getting modified. So what we have here is the AK620 G2. In this case, it's the digital. And first of all, let's talk about that digital screen because there has been a massive update to it. Instead of it being very, very dim, it's actually a lot brighter. Supposedly this is running at only 70% brightness. So that's a huge, huge upgrade for anyone who wants one of these digital screens on a cooler. Some of the things that have happened here is that the fans have received a substantial performance update versus the previous generation fans. The fin stacks are a little bit more optimized for those fans, and also the heat pipe structure, that's received a bit of an update too. Now, it's going to be interesting to test this versus the original AK620. It is available with and without this digital display. I'm going to get into that part actually right now. So the main problem here that I see is that they've gone with wood. I'm not quite sure about what I feel about the wood that they put on this. I have to say, there's a little bit of a green tinge. And if you have like a more top angle to it, you actually see that there's a little bit of like, I guess you would call these like reflective flecks in there. It doesn't look all that great to me, but I guess they're hoping that the wood sort of draws people in because supposedly at this point in time, this is your baseline AK620 now with wood. I don't know about that. Anyways, well, let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. I would much rather see an option with full black, full white, absolutely no wood. I think it's gonna go with a lot more cases because as you know, from one wood case to another, from one component to another, there's always gonna be a pretty big variance in any type of natural product. Another thing that they're launching is the AK700. So 700 is a 7 heat pipe cooler. So that number that they put at the beginning of any of their product numbers is the number of heat pipes. So in this case, 7 6mm heat pipes in a single tower design with a single fan, so 100% memory compatibility. The interesting thing here is that this cooler with 7 heat pipes is actually going to cost a lot less than the AK620. Anyways, the last item here is the Assassin 4 VC. This is now available in white. We've already tested the VC. It's an okay cooler until you get up into the higher TDP ranges, then it becomes one of the best around. So anyways, I'm Mike with Hardware Canucks. This is our last video being recorded at Computex. I hope that you guys had a great journey along with us seeing all these new components, and I will see you in the next one. I'm gonna take a long, long sleep tonight. Have a great day, guys.